Thank you so much for joining the 3 keys to sustainable change for ambitious women who want to ditch dieting and emotional eating and feel confident around food and in their body. And so, welcome. And to kind of kick it off, I want to know if you want this. So, let me know, right? Yes, in the comments. You want to stop struggling with your body and letting food control you. You want to get a handle on your emotional eating. You're ready to feel confident in your body. You want to stop obsessing about food and calories and restricting. You're ready to stop viewing food as maybe evil and stop obsessing about every single thing that you eat. And if you are ready to stop feeling overwhelmed with all the health noise and just focus on a proven system to help you ditch dieting, emotional eating, and feel good along the way. So I see yes. All right, so let's get started. So welcome to the seminar. So the 3 keys for sustainable change for women who want to ditch dieting and emotional eating and finally feel confident in their body and around a food. So I really appreciate you committing to spending the next 60 minutes or so with me. It'll go a little bit over if there are Q&A, and I know your time is valuable. So this is going to be interactive, so keep your chat box open and let's get started. So the first thing I want to invite you to do is to focus. So if you are, you have your phone and your computer, to just focus on one, close any extra tabs, because you want to block out as many distractions as possible. Maybe go to a separate room if you can, and just give yourself this time. And it's really rare that we give our attention to anything these days. So today, what we're going to learn today, by the end of the seminar, you'll know exactly what to do to ditch dieting, eradicate emotional eating, and finally feel confident in your body and around a food. And does that not sound amazing? And just imagine skipping all that late night Googling and searching, all of the expensive investments and surgery and pills and wasted time and the endless failed diets to manage emotional eating. Imagine that voice in your head going from criticizing you to loving and accepting you. So the 3 keys to sustainable change, you're going to know how these 3 areas affect you as an emotional eater and the shifts we need to implement in your life to get lasting results. So I understand, like, women like you and I, we need to do things differently because the conventional system doesn't work for us. And because it doesn't work, it's a huge block to our success. And I also want to say that you're amazing for being here because you want something better in your life. You desire something. You want to move past these limits because you have so much more that you're here to do and be. And so let's set your body up, your emotions to support that. And let's support you so you can have a solid foundation to showing up fully in your life. And to be completely transparent, I'll be sharing a lot of information with you today, as well as how you can work with me at the end. So let's dive into the big problem here, because I can't help you fix a problem you don't know exists, which makes the Emotional Eating Evolution Program a new way to move past emotional eating. So let me know, can you relate to this? Are you always struggling with another diet to control your emotional eating? Do you find you use food to manage your emotions and then you feel ashamed after? Or maybe you've had a stressful day and you find yourself 5 meals deep before you realize you weren't even hungry, or that you feel sad or mad or anxious and you use food to soothe. You emotionally eat and binge, and then the following days you might restrict and punish yourself to make up for it. Every time you pass by a mirror, you're critical to yourself and you can't even look yourself in the eye. So I want to know, do you want to have freedom around food and not worry about your body so much? Do you want to enjoy your life and not use food as a crutch to feel okay? And do you want to look in the mirror and feel confident and healthy? So, when we're emotional eaters, this starts impacting the important people in our life, like, your partner or your children, or if you're looking for a partner. So I find a lot of clients say that, their relationship to their partner is stressful because they can become triggered and then they turn to food. They're not connecting with their partner, or they feel too ashamed in their body to be intimate with their partner. They can't connect deeply with them because they don't feel great about themselves. They feel so badly. Or you find that you when you emotionally eat and you have that sense of shame, you don't want to connect. So many women have told me they don't even feel like putting themselves out there to meet that someone because they hide from social events. They feel ashamed of their body and they're really critical of their body because they've usually been in this cycle of emotionally eating, which tends to lead to other issues like weight gain and other health issues. And so if you're a mom, you know, a lot of clients have said to me that they feel really badly that they are showing their children this pattern, this way of coping. And they can see sometimes with their kids, they're starting to do it themselves. And so even though they want to give them their kids all the confidence in the world and to feel the best, they're not modeling that for their kids. They're modeling and showing them that they use food to cope. So I want you to know you're not alone, that, you know, I've experienced this and many of my clients as well. And the way you feel in your body, it really does start impacting your life, and it impacts your connection with others. You hide from them. You don't want to make eye contact. You feel ashamed. You don't feel comfortable. Um, and, you know, this is not a great place to be in usually, but there is a way forward. And I just want to ask you, in terms of your mental space, do you feel like it's a struggle that you feel on edge around food, plotting, planning, counting, weighing, you're good or you're bad if you eat something? Um, you feel like sometimes you're watching yourself go for these foods and you can't stop yourself. You have no control. And you're eating all the food to numb out or feel okay, maybe at get-togethers or after work. And you know, you're not wanting to even go out because you don't feel confident, you don't feel good in your body. And there's this internal battle of control. Eat it, don't eat it. You give in because you're in pain. You need the food to sort of release the pressure of whatever emotion or discomfort you're feeling. So I've totally been there as well. And if you ever feel like this, let me know in the chat, like you're carrying the world on your shoulders. You've tried everything and nothing is working. Most of what we've been told about emotional eating is completely wrong. So you go to another diet to fix your hunger, then you give in, you break your diet, reach for the cookies or chips, polish off a whole cake, and you're back in that shame cycle of sabotaging yourself. And I want you to know that this is not your fault. So what we've been sold in terms of diets is that we need to control our hunger. We need to control our body. Diets make us feel something's wrong with us because we're not, you know, reaching these certain markers. And, you know, it's never the diet's fault. We need to control our bodies. And guess what? You know, they don't tell you this, but diet recommendations are given based on men, rarely ever on women of reproductive age, because studies need consistency and men have a consistent hormonal cycle daily, while women, when we have our menstrual cycle, it fluctuates throughout the month. And so diets rely on restriction or deprivation or over exercising, and they don't take into account the needs of the female body. And we might see the latest celebrity diet or Instagrammer and think, yes, I want that. I'll be happy when, you know, fill in the blank. But basically, these diets are setting us up to fail by not getting to the root of our emotional eating. They're starving us of nourishment. They're not setting us up to help our emotional eating at all. And so if you can see here, when we're in this restrictive cycle of dieting, it leads to fight or flight mode. Basically, it puts our body into survival mode and makes us, you know, we're on the hunt for calories. This starts disrupting our moods, which can lead to binging. And so diets don't talk about emotions and how to really process them. And, you know, our society is really set up to grab those foods that are going to kind of numb us out and be in a haze. And then, you know, we grab them, we don't feel great, and we're back in the cycle. And most diets are created by people who are not experts on women emotions, and they don't look at the whole system. They're not holistic practitioners, and they're not looking at the physical, mental, and emotional aspects of your health and more. So the real problem here is that we're not looking at the whole system. We're not looking at the emotional, mental, physical, and even spiritual aspects of a person. We're using all our willpower and restricting, thinking that's the solution to my emotional eating. And, in order for you to ditch dieting and evolve your emotional eating, you have to do something different than everyone else is doing. If the diets haven't worked, you need to do something different. And if you're like most people, you deserve to feel healthy, but you get stuck in the noise out there telling you to try this and this diet, cut this macro out, eat at this time, and you don't know who to trust. And so you can restrict and do all the diets and exercise, but if you don't look at the key areas we're going to discuss today, you'll be stuck in the cycle of emotional eating and yo-yo dieting. So we're basically using all of our willpower and restricting, and there is no sustainable result. So who am I? So my name is Lall. Hopefully some of you have already been in my world a little bit, and I've been practicing holistic nutrition for the last 6 years. And I've been helping women ditch dieting and emotional eating without struggling, without starving themselves, making it more intuitive and effortless. And I'll go a little bit more about my professional background, but I want to share with you my story because I also struggled with this. That's what got me into this. And so I could tell you the story of, I started disordered eating in grade 7, and I kind of did that all throughout high school with a lot of restriction. And I only knew what was running that was that I wanted to feel okay. I wanted to feel accepted. I wanted to be, be accepted. I think it boiled down to that, feel better about myself. And the only way I knew how to do that, or thought I knew how to do that, was to look a certain way. And also at the same time, while I was doing that, I also used food to cope. So I would eat, the boxes of cookies, and I started this restriction and sabotage cycle really early on. And then when I got to university, I was still trying to control myself. And I started to experiment with different diets and punishing my body with intense exercise, restricting calories, gaining and losing weight. I hired a personal trainer, so I spent thousands of dollars on that. I cut fat, I ate bland veggies, I exercised like I was crazy. And, I felt really out of control. So let me know if you've sort of been in that space. And then in my early 20s, sort of around when I finished university, I hit a really big rock bottom after going to therapy. So I spent, again, more money, probably around 4,000 or more, on therapy, dealing with my emotions. And then I ended up seeing a holistic nutritionist that didn't really look at all of me. No one was specific to emotional eating. And so, when I was trying everything and really spending a lot of money, really trying everything that I thought would work, kind of it not playing out, I got really frustrated and I threw everything out the window. There were more and more restrictions being piled on me by the holistic nutritionist, by, therapy not working. And so I knew that this wasn't working, and I gave up. I threw everything out the window and I swung to the other extreme. I had already been yo-yoing with the way I was eating, but everything that I had been doing, I just stopped it. And I moved to Korea. I just completely changed everything in my life, because I was feeling like I was giving my power away and not getting anywhere. So if you felt like you were trying everything and still not getting anywhere, I totally get it. Like all of the failed diets, all of the, sometimes clients have had surgeries and pills and they've gone to conventional therapy. I totally get it. I was trying to really get to the bottom of this. And so, if you notice in these pictures, I've been there too. It's not for me necessarily. There is some weight loss. It's about feeling good in your body. And so I didn't envision my life being all about trying to find a solution to, my struggle with my body or my food or my insecurities. I had different plans. But, when you don't feel good in your body, you're not comfortable. And I wasn't comfortable in my body. I felt really gross. I wouldn't look at myself in the mirror in public washrooms. I knew I needed to make changes, but everything I was trying wasn't working. It felt like that crab in the bucket. I would sort of make some progress and get pulled back down. And so I want to say I'm glad you're here today, and hopefully you gain some enlightenment from my story, from what I'm going to be sharing with you. And so I struggled for, I struggled for many years, and through that struggle, what really happened, after I left Korea, um, I had to find like a better way. When I got to Korea, I was really at the lowest point and I had to rebuild. And this was such a rock bottom. I didn't even care about my body or anything anymore. And so I want to share with you a different story. So there was this turning point and there was this transformation that was happening. And so the idea of transformation is really what started to pull me forward in my journey. This desire to feel good, seeing it was possible for others because they were at ease around food and in their body. They didn't seem to struggle like I did. And this started to lead me to true freedom and liberation as I found these practices and understandings and experiences that helped me reclaim my relationship to food, my body, and to myself. And it allowed me to transform. And so emotional eating was that start of this evolution for me and for all of the clients that have been able to help as well, because I desired something different. I wanted a better way to nourish my body. I wanted to figure out my binge and emotional eating. I wanted to stop the madness, and I was committed to my growth. And so I started to really dig into nutrition and digestion and start creating this stronger body. I started to work on my issues around my body, learning acceptance. I started to really listen to my emotions, getting to the root of them and all of my binge eating. And I started to see what was possible, that this was possible for me and it's possible for you as well. And I started to learn about health from this holistic perspective. And it inspired me to go back to school, to continue on this path and combine this with my background in biological chemistry and teaching. And, it started to transform what was happening to me. And so what happened next was really unexpected. I started to see these changes. My life started, really change forever. I look back and the difference I feel today was once this desire I had. And something amazing happened. I started to have this non-restrictive approach to food. I ate everything, mostly nourishing, but had things I hadn't allowed myself in years. My body started to slowly change. It did start to release weight, but that wasn't my goal. I wanted to feel good. That was the only thing I wanted. And so when I started to really feel good in my body, I wanted to move my body. I didn't want to punish my body, with these workouts I had to do. I started to figure out my emotional eating. And, I definitely struggled, but I was committed to growth. And growth is not linear. And so being able to go through this process, I sort of discovered sort of the formula of what it took to move past emotional eating. And it's something I never thought would happen. I thought I would forever be struggling with food and my body. So being able to move through emotional eating back then, it really set me up to succeed in very trying situations like we're in now. The last year, I became a mom the last few years. I've had to move, I've had to end relationships and, be there for family members going through cancer and brain tumors and, all of these things. And if I wasn't able to move through this, then I wouldn't be able to support them as well or support my son. And so what I realized through this is that the old way is outdated, doesn't take into account the mental, emotional, and physiological aspects of a woman in a holistic way. And that the only pathway to lasting success is to accept where you're at, to stop pushing and punishing and reaching for this external goal, because that's really a recipe for burnout and feeling crappy and like a failure, and to really start caring deeply about your internal needs. And so when we strive or push for something external to us, we disempower ourselves. We say we're not good enough, something outside of us is better. when we focus on the inside and start feeling good from there, we'll create it from within. And in the process, we will feel good. And so we will get to this feeling good place from an empowered way rather than, hating ourselves to this way. And this is so much more than just diet and exercise. We need true nourishment, acceptance, and emotional intelligence. And so what makes me qualified to talk to you about emotional eating is my educational background, for sure. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist. I have background in biological chemistry and teaching and in transformational psychotherapy, but also my experience through this for myself and guiding others. I've been able to combine all of my training, my trial and error journey, my mentorship and experience to help women ditch dieting and emotional eating and reclaim their bodies and lives. And there are a lot of people out there claiming to know that, they know what they're doing and they might have experience or training. But what I do is I offer a completely new perspective to emotional eating that's really different to the conventional methods that are usually around control. And I infuse elements to get to the root cause so that you can come back to you. So I want to ask you, do you want a more successful way of doing things? You can type yes in the chat and we will get into it. So let's get into the 3 keys to sustainable change. Thank you, Megan. And I think they're for being here. Thanks, Carol. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's get into the 3 keys to ditching dieting and emotional eating and feeling confident in your body and around food sustainably. So the first key, so I'm going to call this first key, which is true nourishment versus dieting, but this is the outermost layer that we would look at. And here's why this is important. We always think of food and controlling food as the starting point to emotional eating. This is what we're kind of sold out there. It has a place. Food does have a role, but it's not about control. It's about relearning a new way. We've been misinformed for far too long. So I'm going to show you through this first key what I'm talking about. So with restriction. So I'm going to compare true nourishment with restriction because dieting really is about restriction. It's about restricting calories, restricting your macros. And what happens is that we start physically starving our body of energy, of nutrients, and our brain really needs that. And so it turns on our fight or flight mode, survival mode. And so our brain is going to constantly be obsessing about food, and that can lead to binging. This is one layer of emotional eating. And so this stress, this fight or flight and survival mode really makes our mind focused on food. And chronic stress, so when we're constantly like this day in, day out, this becomes chronic stress. And this does not allow for health. It actually makes us hold on to excess weight. It starts creating inflammation, inflammatory conditions in the body. And I'm going to share a little bit more of those with you. But a key thing as an emotional eater is that we use food to feel good when we're in any kind of discomfort. So if we're on a diet that's cutting out the food that we go to, that we cope with, then we're going to be really screwed because that emotional urge is going to take us over whenever we feel discomfort, we have sadness or anger or whatever. It's going to take us over. And, that emotion is so much more powerful than your desire to control your body. And then when we emotionally eat, we're not truly hungry and we start putting pressure on our digestive system. So the digestive system is super important because whenever we're stressed, stress starts imbalancing our body in a few key ways. So this diagram shows a bunch of ways, but I'm really going to focus on our digestion and nerve problems, anxiety, depression, headaches. So these are kind of the things I'm looking at. When we are stressed, that can actually create poor digestion, especially if we're emotionally eating. And the reason that I want to focus on digestive health is that digestive health is so important to our mental health. They're in constant communication. And so when our digestion is off, that means our moods are going to be off. And if our moods are off and we're an emotional eater, we're going to go towards food, and it's going to be this cycle where we're just kind of feeding into it on a physical level. So I want to share with you true nourishment. And when I share with you this, you're going to see how this sort of makes sense. So true nourishment is an abundance of food. It's intuitive. And the way I teach intuition or intuitive way is that there's a structure that we work from to create that flow in the way we nourish ourselves. And I guide my clients through this to start listening to their bodies, because they might go to an extreme. My approach is very gentle as we add in nourishment. We can't really be intuitive after abusing our bodies with diets over the years and not really connecting to our body. So that means we start learning about true hunger versus emotional hunger in the body and knowing the difference. It's about nourishing food. So eating nourishing foods to sort of rebuild our system if we've been emotionally eating, and being really strategic about our digestion. And we want to look at more than just the calories of foods. We want to look at the micronutrients, the bioavailability, how it's really getting into our cells, not just that we're putting food in our body, but how is it getting into our body? And so if we are able to sort of optimize our digestion and really notice when we're truly hungry versus emotionally hungry, we have a better connection from our digestion to our brain. A happy gut is going to be a happy brain. And part of the reason is that we actually produce a lot of neurotransmitters in our digestive system. So 95% of serotonin is produced in the gut. And there is a nerve, the vagus nerve, that actually connects the brain to the gut. So the gut brain axis. And so if our digestion is off, we're going to not be producing those neurotransmitters, those, happy hormones, and they won't get to the brain. And then that's going to create that poor mood, which is going to then trigger us into our emotional eating. This again is just one layer of it. So this is how poor digestion contributes to, our lowered mood and our emotional eating. And so this is why strategic digestion and building up the system is important. Knowing true from emotional hunger is going to be really key and important here. So, some of the things that I look at with clients is this being strategic about digestion. And so that means, some things could be hydrating in between meals, breathing exercises to put the nervous system back into a calm space, looking at the digestibility of food, and looking at true versus emotional hunger. So I want to ask you, so reflect on yourself. How is your digestion? So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 is you have perfect digestion, when you're hungry, you have no bloating or heaviness after a meal. So one would be, one is that you're horrible, it's horrible digestion, you're constipated, you have gas or bloating, you feel heavy after a meal, it takes really long to digest a meal, or you tend to feel sort of like gassy or all of that after a meal. And 10 is like your digestion is perfect, you're going to the washroom every day, it's like toothpaste. You feel really sort of light after a meal, you feel energized by meals, you eat until you're satisfied, that sort of thing. So let me know in the comments on a scale of 1 to 10 where you're at. I want to also quickly mention, and this was the same for me, that sometimes we're used to a certain level of digestion. So we can think back to a time when we had really great digestion. I know for me, my digestion was really consistent most of my life. And then when I really started working on this, I realized how much better it could be, because I had been in this space for, disordered eating grade 7 and even before then. So I see 7, 5, 6, 7, 6. Yeah. So there's some work to be done there, because this is such an important area. But this is the outermost layer. So we're going to go get a little bit deeper with the other keys. But I want to share with you some of my client experiences. So this is Anastasia, and this is before she started working with me, when she came in. So she felt mostly depressed, lost, anxious. She suffered from low self-esteem, body dysmorphia, but binge eating and constant bloating, low energy, pain in her body. And so, these are just a few things she was experiencing. And after we started working together, some of those things, they really started to resolve. She said her mood was really stable, her social anxiety was almost gone. Um, and that she wasn't really depressed or lethargic anymore. And we were just really working the first few weeks on physically what was going on for her in terms of food and nourishment, not quite getting into the deeper things that we'll be talking about. And so we can see that this one level is so important. When we get that in order, we sort of create this foundation. Our body is a foundation, and we might think our emotions and our mental health are out there, but it does really start in the body as well. So I'm going to share with you key number 2. So this is what I call sort of the middle layer. And the way I'm structuring these keys is sort of my journey through this as well. I started with nourishment, and then it was into the body, and then we'll get to the third key. But the thing is that most diets only emphasize controlling hunger and controlling our bodies, because that's what they think is we need to do. We're sold this belief we need to control, and something's wrong with our bodies, and maybe you feel your body is broken, right? And so as emotional eaters, we feel so out of control with our hunger or our body, especially when the emotional eating is starting, or if we're in this pattern, that we eventually, a lot of my clients, a big thing they see as a symptom is that they do have weight gain, or they do have other conditions popping up. And, diets sound really good in that moment, or an intensive exercise routine. We think something, must be wrong with our body. But I'm going to say there isn't necessarily something wrong with your body. Weight can be a symptom of something deeper, but it requires a deeper solution. And so it's not to say exercise and nourishment aren't important. It's just the way we've been doing it. So body acceptance is the next layer. We really need to look at those beliefs we've been taught that we need certain things to feel good. So when we don't nourish our body and we don't accept our body, we punish our body, essentially. So this isn't helpful to our health, and it doesn't get to the root of our emotional eating. So where does this happen, right? So we pick this up from society, from our parents. They were probably critical of themselves, looking in the mirror and not saying the best thing to themselves. But if we look at our society, what do we think will get us that confidence? Looking a certain way. That's what I thought. We want weight loss, but we also use food to soothe. So we're in this battle. And then we might think, okay, let's exercise. And so we don't exercise for sheer health. We're sort of punishing our bodies, trying to burn those calories. And we want to fit into that mold. We want that confidence, that love, that acceptance that we've been really craving deep down. When I lose weight, then I'll feel good and do the things I want to do. And what this does, internally, when you're speaking to yourself this way, this creates stress. It's this criticizing voice in your head poking at your body. Every time you pass by a mirror and you say something negative to yourself, every time you look down at your thighs and you think, oh, I gained so much weight, every time you think a thought that contracts your body, it's putting stress on your body. And just like when we're on the diets and we're restricting and we're creating this stress, it becomes this chronic stress. And so then we go to the gym and we work out excessively, and we're punishing ourselves in our head, and we're pushing beyond our limit. I'm not saying all stress is bad. There's eustress. We need stress for growth and to move forward and expand. But when it's this stress of punishment, that again is going to make us actually hold on to weight, create inflammation in our body. Think back to the first key with stress. So whenever we're stressed, we release cortisol. And so, when this is not going to get us to the goals we want, when we're in this mindset. And so what we need is that we need acceptance. Acceptance is the precursor to change. If we don't accept where we're at without judgment, we're only hating ourselves to a certain size or shape, which, as we see, creates stress, which is not doing what we want it to do. This judgment, creates this internal conflict. And acceptance is not, it's not about liking or loving ourselves, but it's giving us an objective starting point. This reduces that kind of negative voice. It brings us back to a place of neutrality. And so with clients, we start off with doing an exercise all about acceptance and moving into that space of acceptance, looking at our body and the positive purpose of each body part, because we're so used to seeing our flaws that we forget the amazing utility of each body part. And so that's one level where we get into really looking at our body. But some of my clients, actually a lot of them, have some kind of a trauma or bigger issue around certain body parts. And that's where we go deeper with guided meditations, somatic meditations, getting into the deeper wound of why they have this issue with this body part. We do hold in unresolved emotions in our body, which I'll share a bit more as we move through the presentation. So essentially, body acceptance really is moving from how we look to how we feel, and feeling empowered in our body more and more. And as we become more and more clear, we can have that desire to, acceptance is the starting point to transformation. If we can't really be with where we're at now, we can't move into that change in a more ease-filled way. It'll always be a punishing way. And so, when we have body acceptance, it is looking at our physical body, but also what our body needs in terms of maybe rest, or in terms of environment or routine or structure, rituals in the day. So this is so key and important. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel about your body? How do you feel in your body? So let's say, usually I think of this as you walk past the mirror and you say something negative to yourself, that would be a 1. And 10 is really feeling at ease in your body, that you're able to say something nice to yourself. You physically feel, you embody that ease. It's almost like when you go on vacation, you just feel so at ease. You feel good in your body. You're not constantly saying something or trying to be something else in your body. As I see 2, 3, 4, yeah, 3. So I want to share with you a few clients. So this first client, she worked with me for 12 weeks. So that's usually the length of my program. And she was very busy. She had like a toddler when she first started working with me, and she did come in wanting to try the latest cleanse and all of these things. And that's not my methodology. And so we implemented changes that ultimately led to, nourishment and all of these, but led to an increase in energy. She was able to lose weight. And again, I don't focus on that, but she felt confident in her own skin. When she first came in, it was like she needed to lose that weight, but that wasn't our focus. It was about getting her connected to her body and moving forward in that way. And here's another client. So this is Sam. And so it was really interesting with Sam because she would eat out a lot. She was out with her friends and she wasn't really connecting to her body. She had other health issues sort of going on as well. And what we did was we just started to get her more in tune with, like she says here, she's much more in tune with herself, her body, her relationship to food. So connecting her to her relationship to food and to her body, and that body acceptance piece. And here, so this is the third key. So the third key is my favorite key. And if, I was considering starting off with this one because this is sort of like the core of emotional eating. This, if we can really get to this core, which is not talked about, sadly. And so emotional health, compassion, and empathy is so key and important for emotional eating. It's called emotional eating for a reason. And I think we know emotions are involved, but I'm going to dive a little bit deeper as to why. So let's start off with where we're at as a society. We don't look at our emotions or really even understand them. So we know we're emotionally eating. We have emotions, but we don't really know where to go from there. In general, we're taught to suppress, repress, dismiss them, distract from them. Think like a mom giving an ice cream to their baby or giving them an iPad, like distracting them from feeling that emotion. And so, what this does, because we don't understand what an emotion is, we actually start creating how to cope with an emotion. We don't resolve it, we don't process it, we just cope with it. And as emotional eaters, we were somewhere along the line, we either saw our family doing this, eating to suppress emotions or to distract or feel better. We discovered that ourselves because think about it, a baby, if they're breastfeeding, it means love and it feels good, and food just feels good. So we just use food to feel good. But this is a band-aid solution, right? So we overeat to stop the emotion, or that pattern is already there. It stresses out our body, our digestive system. We judge ourselves. We feel more guilt and shame. We go back to the food and we're in the cycle. And so, what's really going on here, and even what we're taught in society might be, oh, ignore that emotion or ignore what they said. Don't put too much thought into it. But once an emotion is created in the body, it's physical. So I'll share a bit more about that. So what we need to do with emotions, a big thing we need to do with them is process them and then resolve them. So if you know what processing is or isn't, you can let me know in the chat, or if any questions come up. But basically, processing really means to me feeling the emotion, feeling through the emotion, allowing space for that. The thing is, emotions are in our body, just like I talked about cortisol and I talked about serotonin when we're happy and cortisol when we're stressed. Whatever emotion we're feeling, it's produced in our body. There's a biochemical response in our body. There's a physical reaction in our body. And in order to process an emotion, we need to feel it to completion. So if we're in the middle of being upset, or even like think about a child and they're upset, but we tell them to stop, you notice they can stop, but the emotion is still in the body. We just are able to sort of freeze our system. So we freeze the emotion in our body. And so what happens when we don't complete the reaction? Like I said, it stays in the body, it stays in the nervous system, waiting to be processed or felt. And so, over time, as we move throughout our day, we get triggered or something comes up and the emotion pops out. And then we might go towards food because that's just a trigger for us. And so I'm going to share with you what it might look like. So imagine that you are a hose and you turn the water on, it flows through the hose, and you turn it off. So the water is just flowing in and out of the hose. The water are your emotions and you are the hose. But what happens as an emotional eater is that we turn on the hose and then we turn on the water, sorry, and then we pinch the hose, and then the water is building up pressure in our body. And we don't notice it, we ignore it, or we notice the pressure, but we're like, oh, that means I should go eat now. We're not doing this consciously, it's unconscious. This is a deep pattern. So we go to the food, or we might notice we're upset, but automatically we're like, I need the food. It's just connected. And so we might also have an explosive reaction, or, a little bit of the pressure comes out here and there, but the food is distracting us from all that pressure building up. And so when we eat the food, because food in our body produces a feel good sensation, feel good chemicals, we get this temporary relief, but that emotion is still waiting for us. So let me know in the comments if this makes sense to you, if this is making sense. So I want to share with you And if it's not making sense, leave a comment as well. So, food is a coping mechanism, right? So, a coping mechanism is helping us to avoid the emotion. It's doing what it says, it's helping us cope. I don't know about you, but I don't want to cope with anything because coping means that we're forever doing that. We're not resolving it. If I had the option of choosing between coping and resolving, I want to resolve something, right? Um, of course, when I was going through this, I had no idea. So um, coping is really sneaky because it's coming back, it's going back to when did you create this pattern, right? So we learn to create this pattern, and so now we're seeing we're coping, and we might just jump to the food without even noticing it. That's what would happen to me. I would eat 5 bowls of cereal or 5 meals in a row because I was triggered, and then suddenly be like, what? Like I'd feel full up to my eyeballs and feel like a truck hit me. And what was going on? How did I just eat all this food? I don't even think I was hungry. And, you know, it took, it's like this pattern, it was so quick. And it's sort of cool to have these patterns in our brain to be efficient, but not when it's harming us, right? So, what can we do to sort of pull back from this coping? And so, I guess the overall thing is really developing a way to process and move through our emotions, to have that emotional intelligence. We want to feel. And so, the way I do this with clients, so through my methodology, is with guided somatic meditations that I use psychotherapy tools with. And so it's essentially through this process, we start learning how to feel safe with our emotions because we probably never learned that it was safe to feel our emotions. There's always a part of us, and you can check inside that if someone has an emotion, you start feeling uncomfortable. If someone is angry, or if someone is sad, or someone is too happy, if you feel uncomfortable, there's a part of you won't allow you to feel those emotions either. And if we go back that emotions just need to be felt through the body, they're really just energy, but they do need to be felt, then you're holding in those emotions in you as well. We need to recognize that we're not our emotions, but we do need to feel them. And um, through this method, this process, we work with excuse me, get to work through these unresolved memories essentially that created this coping pattern. And usually it's a younger part of you. So we need to go back to those parts. We need to process and work through and give ourselves what we needed back then. And so the longer we have repressed these emotions and been in this pattern, sort of like the deeper we need to go into this work, or sort of we need to, it can't just be as simple as feel your emotions. Maybe you're at that spot, but for most people, we need to go a little bit deeper to really feel safe feeling our emotions and really feeling them in the body. Emotions are in our body, they need to be felt and processed through the body. And so, I do these meditations with clients, and then they have their own meditations they can listen to in between sessions with me. But to sort of bring it back to where you might be at now, and just to understand that all of these patterns are in your unconscious. So you need a way to get into your unconscious and process through them. And a way that we start doing that is to start bringing awareness. So right now, what you can do is really start looking at your patterns around emotional and binge eating. What's your trigger? Is it a person, a place, a thing, a feeling? When you start getting clear on that, you have a gateway to getting into the pattern more. And then, maybe then you slowly allow yourself to start feeling that emotion. But I know for me, I needed that modeling from a mentor on how to really feel safe, how to be guided through a process to go deeper into feeling it. But you can start slowly, but to get to those deeper parts, you might need a mentor to do that. And so I want to just also quickly make a note here on talk therapy. So I went to conventional therapy for probably over a year and a half. I spent a lot of money on it. And I was really aware of things in my life, and that was great. But I didn't get that deeper resolution in my body. I still carried around a lot of unprocessed emotions. I worked on my emotional eating. It became worse after because I just felt so frustrated. Nothing was working. Because the thing is, conventional therapy is in your mind and it's talking about everything. You become really aware, but it's not diving into your body, into the emotions. And it's not really getting into the subconscious, your unconscious, and changing those patterns. And it just uses your conscious mind, which can only really make change. It's only has 5% power versus the subconscious, which is 95% power. That's why when an emotion comes up, it will take you over unless you're able to get into that and really create change at that level. So conventional therapy didn't work, and we need to get into the body. And so this process that I have, it gets into the body at a somatic level, and then there are tools to really get at those patterns, to open them up, and to start shifting and transforming them. And so when we're able to get to that space of into the actual memory and the pattern, what we can do is really deeply feel, allow, and express those emotions, but also see what was the belief we created, or what was the pattern we created. We can hear the limiting belief. We can start shifting out of those limits, because those limiting beliefs or those patterns, into something that's going to help us move forward with more ease without having to fight ourselves. Because essentially, when we don't do that, we are fighting ourselves internally, fighting these emotions. I'm going to share with you. So Sam, we worked together on this. So part of the reason that she was able to really deeply connect in with her body is through the somatic meditations. Um, when these sort of triggers would come up, we were able to go in. I was able to guide her through the meditation, and then she was able to face those uncomfortable spaces in a really positive way and create resolution for herself. And this connects you, this clears space for you to connect with yourself more and more. And this is Alana. So we worked on that as well. So she had emotional eating. It was very daily, consistent with her. She had these cravings, and we moved through the meditations to find a way out of it, to resolve it, to find out what was really going on. So our emotions are either telling us of a limiting belief we have, or something we might need to change, or what our true need is. So it's either usually a limiting belief or a need that's unresolved that we need to get to. And so with Alana, she was able to figure out that she had this pattern, and she was covering up this need she had of needing to find different type of work. Sometimes with my other clients, they just need to go back and really allow their body to feel those emotions. And this is another client. So this is Rachna. We did a lot of this emotional processing. She tried for a very long time with her weight, her emotional eating, her self-esteem. She tried so many different things. And when she signed up with me, we started to get the ball rolling, because she was able to really get to those parts of her that were sabotaging her, to really resolve those areas, so that she wasn't fighting herself. All of her was moving forward and doing so in alignment, not fighting. And because if you have an internal struggle and one part of you wins and one loses, they're both you. So you lose. You want to find a win-win. And so, right now, everything I've sort of told you, the 3 keys, they are not addressed in popular diets or those fitness plans that you see. The emotions are not even talked about, sadly, or they put a lot of positivity, or, we just completely disregard what's going on in our body. And even therapy, a lot of therapy, conventional therapy for the most part, doesn't look at these deeper subconscious patterns at play in the body, plus the physical nourishment that's needed. And so these systems are not holistic. They don't look at the three keys I've addressed. It's very compartmentalized. And so they don't address nutrition at a deeper level, your digestion, mental health, limiting beliefs. They certainly don't go into the root cause of these emotions and process them. So I know these three keys alone can get you past emotional eating, dieting, poor body image, and stop you from feeling crazy around food. So I want you to imagine for a moment, imagine feeling confident around food, not eating all the cookies, feeling your emotions, feeling clear, passing the mirror and saying kind things to yourself and feeling confident in your body, feeling vibrant from the inside, not that you're holding in all this pressure, just feeling at ease, connecting to others, your partner, your children deeply, being in integrity with what you want to show them, maybe being more active and going after those goals you really want, your next step in your evolution. So feeling confident in your body, glowing from within and feeling confident and not obsessing about food, this is so possible. You can feel this ease and this confidence in yourself. And so I promised to you at the beginning that I would tell you everything to help you move past emotional eating and ditch dieting. And everything I've shared with you today works. It's worked for me and the many others I've worked with. And so I'm not special. I went through a lot of struggle. I invested in a lot of things. There were the ups and downs of life. And even now, there's the ups and downs of life for me too. But knowing what I know helps me move forward. And so we know that if we've tried diet after diet to help our emotional eating, it hasn't worked. And so we know also if we don't prioritize our well-being, it makes it that much more difficult to move forward in our life. The more health you have, the more present you can be and efficient, and your life, will start creating that space for you to move forward into those goals. And I know you can achieve this if you have the accountability, support, and a plan to follow. So right now you have a choice to choose another diet, fitness plan, or someone without much training or a proven system. Or you can choose someone with a sustainable system. And that's what the Emotional Eating Evolution program is. It's my step-by-step process to help you move past your emotional eating. And so this program really is about you starting to feel better in your body, around food, and in your life. And I'm personally on a mission to help women overcome all the bad advice about emotional eating I was given, all the wasted money that didn't result in tangible, sustainable results for me, and all of the misconceptions and overwhelm. And so through this program, I'll give you the step-by-step process to follow to get to your goals with lots of support and encouragement. And so right now, this seminar, I can't fill it's long, but I can't fill it all. It really is just a 30,000-foot view of how I help my clients. And so as a professional who cares deeply about your health, your body, your mental and emotional well-being, it'd be irresponsible of me not to share with you how I can support you if you do need more support. So let me know in the comments, do you want me to explain how I can support you through my program? So you can let me know in the comments. So the best way I can support you is through the Emotional Eating Evolution program. And so in this program, we really do master the three things that we've talked about today. Each layer builds on the other. So truly nourishing your body so it's digesting well, optimizing mood and health. We implement body acceptance so we understand how your body works and to start accepting and loving it. The emotional wellness to move through all of these unresolved emotions, those sneaky ones running the show and making you reach out for food to soothe, so that you can stop obsessing, about food, your body, and get to the root and start living the life you want. Women have been able to reach this level of moving past their emotional eating with my Emotional Eating Evolution program, which I've spent years developing with private clients. And so I want to help you reach that freedom around food and in your body, The program is a 12-week long program. So we build on nourishing your body, we build up your body confidence, up your emotional intelligence. And these keys are powerful together, as I've been showing you throughout. And so, on average, most clients start finding their healthy body and feeling confident in their own skin and around food in 12 weeks. They feel energetic, at ease around food, no longer obsessing because they know what's really going on and they have the tools and the support and the container to really move past their emotional eating. So, I'll share with you more of the structure. So this is the container. It's the Emotional Eating Evolution program. It's a 12-week program and there are 4 phases. So today we've covered 3. There's an additional phase with lifestyle. And through the program, you have private sessions with me, weekly accountability check-in, a Facebook group for support. There is lots of support and accountability, and you have the program on a membership site. So you have the step-by-step plan to follow. And so this is sort of an overview of what the program looks like. So in each of the phases, this is sort of like again, a bird's eye view overview of moving through each of the phases over the 12 weeks. And so in terms of that live support, you get 12 weeks of coaching every week, looking at your food and mood journals, daily support. You then have 3 deep dive sessions with me to really tweak the program for you, but go deeper into what I've been talking about, those deep somatic meditations to get to the root of your emotional eating. And then you have the program for life. You can always go back to the program. You will have recorded meditations. So you always have the tools with you to move forward. And so the biggest issue I see in this industry is that diets are run by someone with maybe a weekend education or not very much understanding of you as a whole person. They don't look at the emotional and mental health of the person because, as we've seen, everything is interconnected. And so even in conventional therapy, it doesn't go deeply into these patterns to help guide you through them so you can really see what's going on. So at best, everything's choppy. And I know this works well because it looks at all areas from physical, mental, and emotional that traditional methods don't cover. They don't take into account you as a whole individual. They're just looking at one aspect at a time. So I know this works because it works because it addresses the key areas for emotional eaters. It also includes tons of support and accountability that traditional methods don't. We need that support to move us forward through these patterns. And there are also nuances I can help you with and other factors involved that traditional methods, they don't address. So think about, when you come up with a roadblock or your environment or social settings, your relationship boundaries, how to strategize your day, it doesn't come up with those. And really how to, all of these things are needed to ensure that you resolve those emotions under your eating. So we don't exist in a vacuum. And I've been experimenting for years designing this method so it works long term. It's not a quick fix for 6 weeks. This is a long-term methodology. It's not a quick fad or a trend. So if you know that this is exactly what you need, I'll post a link below. And so this link directs you to an assessment and for you to schedule a free consult. So yes, this is a 30-minute free consult to see if the Emotional Eating Evolution program will work for you and if we are a good fit, because I am going deeply in to work with you in these meditations. So we have to also align. So if this sounds good and you're resonating with my energy, I would love to invite you into that. And if you would like the link, you can put in yes in the chat and I will grab it. Sorry, one sec here. Okay. Let me know if you see it. I'm not sure if it went. Okay. So again, this is Anastasia. I mentioned her earlier in the beginning. And so she had all of these sort of binge eating, the low self-esteem, body dysmorphia, the bloating. And in a few weeks, she was starting to feel strong and energized. So imagine her mood started to stabilize in a few weeks. What could happen in this 3-month container for you? And so throughout the seminar, I've shown you some of the emotional eating evolution successes. So who knows, you might be next. Maybe you want to be next. I hope you do if this is resonating with you. And so this is Sam's friend. So Sam worked with me, and then a year later, I got this message from her friend saying that she swore you changed her life. So thank you for impacting so many lives. And so I've shown you some of the successes here, and I'm going to be honest with you. This program is not for everyone. I personally like to get you results, and that requires commitment, not just from me. It requires commitment from you, that you're ready, you feel called. You know, I want to work with the right women who feel called, who are ready to ditch dieting and emotional eating. And, you know, you don't want to be held back by your lack of confidence in your body or around food. You want to go after your dreams. You want to pursue what lights you up. You do desire to feel good. And so this is honestly why I offer this assessment, evaluation, and complimentary consult to see if you're in the right space, if the program can meet you where you're at. And if, you know, that has to be in place. So I want to know, let me know. And this is another client. This is, she had all the tools. She went through the 12-week program at the end, and she was very into fitness. She felt great, more confident around food and her body. She didn't have to numb out, you know, she had the tools to not be numbing out with foods. And we found a lot of what was going on in her life that was creating that. And so this is for you if you want confidence around food and how to nourish yourself, really deeply knowing that. You want an abundant way of thinking around food that's not punishing. You want to feel confident in your body and appreciative, knowing what you need. You want to have more mental clarity and feel grounded in your emotions. And you want to increase your intelligence and get clear on your life. And so this is definitely for you if you're ready to stop wasting your time with what hasn't worked, you know, and try a new proven system that does. Insanity, the definition of insanity is trying the same thing and expecting a different result. We know the conventional way does not work. So a new way means that there are ups and downs, but you're committed. You want to learn about true nourishment, body acceptance, emotional health, and how it affects your wellness and confidence, and how it will move you past your emotional eating. If you are coachable, you can ask for support and accountability. If you are tired of trying and failing and only getting those short-term results, and you know, this is for you if you know that investing in your growth is important. You're, investing in your health is going to help you to move past this, because you can't stay in this diet merry-go-round. So I want to work with action takers who want to implement this information, who want to change, they want to evolve, they want to feel empowered in their body and life. And so if this is you, schedule in your call. I'd be happy to invite you to fill in your assessment and schedule your complimentary consult. I've opened up my calendar for tomorrow and Friday, and also there are 2 days next week. I usually don't open it up this much, and I just want to make sure, if you can't see the link, let me know. But on this call, we're going to get super clear about your goals, so where you're at, where your goals are, and how we can bridge that gap, see what's holding you back. And if anything, the call is going to give you a lot of clarity on what might be going on for you. And so the best part is that I get to see if I can help you. And also you're going to gain just confidence. And this is sort of step one of your commitment to yourself as well. So I'd be excited to speak to you and see if I can welcome you into the program. And obviously, if you're not a fit, you'll gain more clarity on your next steps. And if I can help with that, I can share that with you in the call as well. And so this is not for you if you don't want to take responsibility for your success, you're looking for a quick fix, you're not interested in transformation, you're not patient with yourself, you're not committed to learning a new way of moving beyond emotional eating and dieting. This is not for you if you're not open-minded to a new way of doing things and you're not receptive to coaching. And so if you're someone who wants that support, that love, that accountability, please schedule in your call now. There is the link, and I know the system works. I've shown you some of the results. And so at the end of the day, this is a committed approach. So I put in the commitment and you put in the commitment so that you can get to success. And if you're someone that wants support, love, and accountability, please schedule in your call. You want to feel amazing, this call is definitely for you. And if you want to walk out of 2021 feeling a lot better, this is definitely for you. And, just to sort of sum this up, I wouldn't be where I am at today without investing in myself. Even though a lot of the things I invested in didn't work, I did invest in a lot of things that did. And I found sort of that, what works for this specific issue of emotional eating. So I invested in myself, in mentors, in my education, and in training to help me get to this space. And so, ask yourself inside, where do you want to be in 3 months? You can spend many years trying to figure this out, or you can, invest in someone. If it's not with me, if it's with someone else that you feel are going to get you there, because we can't buy our time back, right? We only have so much time. And it's just really up to you. I mean, it really just depends on you. So if you're wondering if you're a good fit, you can head on over, you can read through this, but you can head on over to the calendar if you feel you're a good fit, schedule in that call. And yeah, we did it. Thank you so much for joining me, who I think you guys stayed here. It went a little bit over. Sometimes that happens. And so really my mission really is to help women with what I've struggled with a simple path to get to the root of their emotional eating, feel confident in their bodies and around food, and to go after their goals. So if you booked your call, I can't wait to talk to you and, to really be of service to you, to see if I could help you. And of course, if we both agree it's a good fit, I'd love to invite you in and we can chat about it. So thank you so much. And if there are any questions, I'm going to open it. Say thank you so much for spending the last hour with me plus. I appreciate your time. And, this is your first step to committing to yourself and on this journey and learning something new. And if what I'm saying resonates with you, the next step would be to book in that call. I would love to speak to you to help support you in your journey. So thank you so much. And I look forward to connecting with you. And if not, I will for sure see you in the emails. And if you have any questions, please be sure to email me. And you can also follow me on Instagram at L.A.L.L Nutrition. I share other value-driven posts about emotional eating, so you can take a look there. Thank you so much.